Good evening. This is Professor Joseph Holbrook, your instructor for ISS1120 at Miami-Dade College in the summer of 2015. We are now beginning Chapter 11 of Hunt and Colander's book. Chapter 11 is the social and economic stratification of society. So let's jump right in and talk about stratification. What is it? Stratification is the grouping of people according to differences in income, occupation, power, privilege, the manner of living, the region where they live, age, gender, or race. Social stratification appears to be unavoidable in society. Some activities and some kinds of work are more important to a society than others. Firmly established social stratification contributes to social stability. Competitiveness is reduced because people know their place in society. So we see here upper class, middle and working class, and lower class. Three principal types of social stratification have existed throughout history: estates, castes, and social classes. The estate stratification developed in Europe under feudalism. The lines between groups were clearly drawn. They required people to dress a certain way. Upward mobility was almost impossible. The king could bestow a title of nobility, but that's about the only means of upward mobility that were available. The three estates, by the way, were the nobility, the first estate, the second estate was the clergy, and the third estate was everyone else. The medieval estate system was a static system. It disintegrated under the impact of the Industrial Revolution and democracy, particularly in the French Revolution. Here's a cartoon depicting the two estates that the third estate had to carry on their back. That's it, due to the fact that the clergy and nobility were exempt from paying certain taxes, but the third estate, who tended to be the poorest, had to pay all the taxes to carry the government. Another system was the caste system. It is a rigid class distinction based on birth. The caste system is associated with India and Hinduism, where it has prevailed for 3,000 years. Under the caste system, the individual acquires a social position at birth, theoretically determined by karma. The religious beliefs in karma and transmigration of the soul, or what we often know of as reincarnation, help reinforce the caste system. Karma is the belief that every person should fulfill in this life the duties with their caste. And you see on the right, the highest caste was the Brahmin, which was the priests and academics, the Kshatriya, which were warriors, kings, administrators, rulers, the Vaishya, which were merchants, landowners, the Sudra were the commoners or everyday workers. Then those were the four classes in the caste system. Then there was a fifth group that was not a caste. It was considered to be outside the caste system, called the untouchables. Social classes are what we have in the United States and what currently exists in Europe. It tends to be referred to as upper and middle class, lower class, working class. These are much more flexible and fluid designations. Most modern societies have an informal type of social stratification called social class. Unlike estates and castes, these social classes are not supported by legal or religious sanctions. They are not clear-cut, delimited groups. In a democratic industrial society, social status is a continuum. There are a variety of categories, which you see on the lower right: education, occupation, income, which combine to form the individual's social and economic status. So you see education, occupation, income, and socio-economic status. This is a cartoon depiction of the class system. A social class consists of those people in a community who are somewhat similar in their economic position, their attitudes and beliefs, educational background, their way of life, how others regard them, their influence in the community. According to this definition, a social class is like a subculture. People who've only finished high school and who work in blue-collar jobs would be considered working class. People who finished professional or graduate school and have master's degrees or law degrees, medical degrees, and live in very nice neighborhoods would be considered professional class. The family is the basis of class. In this sense, it's somewhat similar to the other two systems we discussed. The primary unit of stratification is the family because, except for rare cases, the entire family usually belongs to the same stratum. Membership in a particular social class may be inherited within a given family from generation to generation because usually all the members of the family share similar attitudes and lifestyles. Children usually have a similar educational opportunities as their parents. The children often follow their parents into occupations. So if you have someone who's a blue-collar worker, often the children will also be blue-collar workers. If you have someone who is in the medical profession, the children may go to a nice college and end up becoming medical professionals or legal as well. Social mobility. In the United States, there is an opportunity for upward social mobility, unlike the caste system or the old estate system. In the 19th century, there were numerous novels about upward mobility. Since 2000, studies have shown decreasing social mobility in the United States and increasing levels of inequality. High levels of inequality in the United States have been accepted in the past because of the belief that the rich worked hard to get where they are, and that the poor have the opportunity to become rich if they work hard. However, if that belief is questioned or begins to change, there could be social instability in the future. You see, this is about capitalism, and the people who make it all the way to the top are the capitalists. The people who are carrying the system on their shoulders are at the bottom. It's being viewed here as a pyramid system, with the military in the middle to protect the capitalists. Who are the upwardly mobile? In the United States, we try to avoid thinking in terms of high class or low class. This is partly because of our heritage in reacting to European culture and fighting for our independence from the British, which was very class-oriented. In the United States, we have a streak of egalitarianism that wants to dignify hard physical labor and to believe that everyone has the same opportunities and everyone is equal. Obviously, that's not entirely true. But in the United States, most people would be uncomfortable referring to themselves as upper class or lower class. Just about everyone will call themselves middle class, even though there may be vast differences between them. Some important traits for moving up the class system in the United States are race and gender, birth order, a belief in deferred gratification, and education. Race and gender will be dealt with in a separate chapter, but obviously in the past in the United States, if you're white and male, it gave you an advantage in the system. Whether that's as true today or not, we will discuss in a different chapter. Birth order refers to the fact that statistically oldest children tend to excel and be high achievers. And so sometimes an oldest child will move up in the social rankings, often through education. Do you know what deferred gratification is? What is deferred gratification? Take a moment and think about that. Gratification, of course, is getting the pleasure that you anticipate. So if you're in line at McDonald's and you're going to buy a vanilla ice cream cone, when you get the cone, that's your gratification. However, if you want to lose 20 pounds, deferred gratification is to put off the pleasure of eating the McDonald's vanilla ice cream cone for a sufficient number of months, along with other deferred gratifications, until you get on the scales and see that you weigh 20 pounds less than you started out. That is deferred gratification. And deferred gratification is why you're here taking this class. You would probably rather be at a movie theater or online playing video games or reading a book by the water or spending time with your family. But instead you're taking educational classes and you're deferring your gratification in order to get a better job, in order to be able to make more money, to move up the social order. Education is the last one, and that is a powerful tool of upward mobility. The better education you get, the more education you get, the better opportunities that will open for you, and the more likely you will not be in the working class or the impoverished class or the lower class of the impoverished. Education and mobility. Many of these qualities are not under our control. Room at the top of the social structure is limited. Education and delayed gratification are the two most powerful factors that are under our control, which I've already spoken about. Education obviously allows access to job possibilities that otherwise would not be open. A graduate degree such as a master's degree increases the average earning potential by $1 million over a lifetime. Globalization and social mobility. You see the capitalists sitting around the globe in the cartoon. Globalization is the process of international integration, arising from an interchange of worldviews, products, ideas, and other aspects of culture. There was just recently on the news some controversy about globalization with the trade pact of Asia that's being discussed with the Obama and the Congress have been discussing giving Obama fast-track authority to approve a TTP, the trade pact with Asia. And some people have opposed it because they feel that these kinds of trade agreements hurt U.S. workers because companies and factories are sent overseas, and people who used to have jobs building cars in Detroit end up unemployed while someone in China or Mexico or Brazil is building the same car and making more money. From a global perspective, the U.S. workers are on the high end of the income distribution ladder. People want to immigrate to the U.S. even if it means a low wage because it is higher than what they could get in their home country. With U.S. companies forced to shift production to low-wage countries, opportunities for U.S. citizens at the bottom are decreasing. This is one of the reasons for growing inequality. The poverty threshold in the United States is when you have a family of 4 making less than $21,000 a year. That was as of 2009. For a single person, it's below $11,000 a year. Guidelines determine assistance eligibility. So you see poverty by race. Hispanics and blacks have been losing ground since the 1980s in our economy. This is an overall picture. The working poor and the working class make up the majority of our society. The upper middle class and the capitalist and the middle class are a smaller portion, and a very tiny portion, the 1%, is the capitalist class. Income equalization programs must consider the poorest people, the need for health care, justice, children's rights, the need for savings and incentives. There's even age inequality. Older people often have less opportunities at a certain point. Are all men and women created equal? That's part of our democratic ideal, that we should have equality before the law, equality of opportunity. Progress continues in equality before the law, but must continue toward equality of opportunity as well. So that is our chapter on social and economic stratification. I hope you will read the chapter and take the quiz, and we will discuss it this week. Thank you very much.